Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to be unpacking a truly exciting breakthrough in the world of medical AI. We're looking at a brand new research paper that details something called the CRISP framework. This is a methodology that's basically revolutionizing how medical AI handles entirely new, unseen clinical environments. So if you've ever wondered how we actually take an AI model from, perfect laboratory conditions out into the messy, totally unpredictable real world of actual hospitals, well, you're in the exact right place.
Okay, let's dive into this because this is the downright frightening reality of medical AI today. You can have an elite deep learning model that performs with just absolute state-of-the-art perfection in the lab. It segments tumors or blood vessels flawlessly on the specific database it was trained on. But the moment you deploy that exact same model into a real-world clinical setting, say a hospital just across town or maybe in a totally different country, it often just breaks. It suffers severe performance degradation. And this, right here, is the central bottleneck preventing the widespread clinical translation of medical AI. So here's our quick roadmap for today. First, the AI deployment bottleneck. Second, the rank stability insight. Third, introducing the CRISP framework. Fourth, the squeezing process. Fifth, remarkable clinical results. And finally, number 6, a safer medical AI future. We're going to unpack this whole methodology step by step.
Starting off with Section 1, the AI deployment bottleneck, when lab perfection meets the real world.
Before we can really appreciate the genius of this new solution, we absolutely have to understand what's actually happening when lab perfection collides with the real world. The technical term for this problem is distribution shift. And simply put, a distribution shift happens when the data a model sees out in the real world looks fundamentally different from the source data it was trained on. This is the big one, guys. If a model can't handle a distribution shift, we simply cannot trust it with patient care in unseen environments. And honestly, this failure actually makes global health inequities worse, because models that are optimized for one specific demographic end up failing to accommodate others.
The source material highlights 3 representative but effectively infinite real-world shifts. First up is demographic shift. Think of this like training on a totally normal cohort of patients, but then deploying on a COVID-19 cohort that has entirely different lung pathologies. Second is modality shift. This would be like moving from contrast-enhanced CT scans to non-contrast CT scans. And third is protocol shift, which can honestly be as simple as one hospital using a Philips MRI machine instead of a Siemens one. Now, older AI methods, they try in vain to exhaustively simulate these infinite shifts, or they require constant, tedious retraining at every single new hospital. And yeah, both of those strategies struggle big time in the unpredictable real world.
Moving on to Section 2, the rank stability insight, a paradigm shift.
So the crucial point is this major conceptual pivot the authors make. Instead of trying to predict every possible distribution shift out there or constantly updating parameters on the fly, they rely on this brilliant, simple, yet incredibly powerful assumption called rank stability. Let's use an analogy. Imagine a race in the mud. If a group of elite runners suddenly has to race through thick, heavy mud, their absolute speeds, their lap times, are going to crash, right? They'll all run way slower than they did on a nice dry track. But the fastest runner is usually still in first place. Their relative ranking stays stable. It's the exact same thing in medical imaging. Even if a distribution shift causes the AI's absolute probability prediction for, say, a tumor to crash from 90% way down to 40%, the relative rank ordering of those true positive pixels remains largely preserved compared to the background.
Which brings us to Section 3, introducing the CRISP framework, target-free refinement.
Leveraging that exact race-in-the-mud insight, the researchers developed the CRISP framework. That stands for Constrained Refinement via Iterative Squeezing Process. I like to think of CRISP as a detective. It's a detective finding that hidden rank signal in the mud. And the crazy part is it does this without needing any new target domain data whatsoever. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it works under the hood. CRISP uses something called Latent Feature Perturbation. Basically, it's injecting random static or Gaussian noise directly into the model's brain to deliberately simulate a domain shift. By comparing the results, it can literally see which 3D pixels or voxels keep their ranking despite the noise and which ones don't. It's extracting domain-invariant spatial hints purely from that rank stability we just talked about.
Let's look closer at how it does that in Section 4, the squeezing process, resolving the ambiguity.
So once the AI identifies those stable spatial hints, it physically refines the boundary of the tumor or a lung vessel right down to the pixel. That noise perturbation we just looked at gives us 2 critical masks. The first is the high precision or HP core. These are the voxels that survive every single simulated shift with the absolute highest grade. They are the core. They are guaranteed to be inside the target. The second mask is the high recall or HR support. These are the voxels that remain at least potentially foreground under one or more perturbations, so they form an inclusive boundary that is guaranteed to contain the entire target. And right in between this rock-solid inner HP core and the broad outer HR support, that's where you find this fragile, uncertain boundary.
And here is how CRISP actually resolves that uncertain boundary. It's called the recursive squeeze, and it's just this beautiful, elegant loop. Step 1, the model predicts the initial image. Step 2, it injects that noise to estimate rank stability and generate those HP and HR hints. Then Step 3, it feeds those hints back into itself and predicts again. Using a highly specialized uncertainty squeezing loss, the model is literally forced to push the inner HP core and the outer HR support together. It just squeezes that ambiguous uncertainty band thinner and thinner, generation after generation, until those boundaries perfectly converge into one final, highly accurate segmentation.
Section 5. Remarkable clinical results, proving the concept.
Okay, so the theory is super elegant, but how does it actually hold up against unyielding real-world clinical shifts? Check out this data from modality shifts, specifically going from contrast-enhanced CTs over to non-contrast CTs. The standard baseline model completely collapses. Its DICE score, which measures overall accuracy, drops to a dismal 33.26. Now, a competing state-of-the-art method called IPLC, which actually requires target data to retrain, only bumps that back up to 41.33. But CRISP? Using absolutely zero target data, CRISP achieves a massive leap to a 59.46 DICE score. And look at the HD95 metric on the right. That measures boundary error distance, so lower is better. The baseline error is almost 30 pixels off. CRISP slices that all the way down to just 13.19 pixels. That is an astonishing recovery, and it's achieved entirely by trusting rank stability.
And this brilliantly illustrates that convergence happening in real time. If we look at the progression, we can track the DICE accuracy aggressively climbing up over just a few generations of that recursive squeeze. And at the exact same time, we have the HD95 distance error rapidly plummeting. Literally by generation 3, both metrics have effectively plateaued. That uncertainty squeezing loss rapidly forces the model to make decisive predictions, completely stabilizing the image in just a handful of passes.
I really want to pause and emphasize this specific number from the modality shift experiment. 8.39 pixels. That is the exact reduction in boundary error that CRISP achieved over its very best competitor. To put that into perspective, that represents a staggering 38.9% boundary error reduction. In medical imaging, where a few pixels can literally be the difference between correctly diagnosing a localized tumor versus entirely missing the edge of a critical blood vessel, an 8-pixel improvement, without even seeing the target hospital's data, that is nothing short of groundbreaking.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 6, a safer medical AI future, eliminating the catastrophic tail.
So why do these numbers actually matter for real patients, real doctors, and actual hospital deployments? Well, it's not just about bumping up average scores on some AI leaderboard, it's about mitigating absolute catastrophic risk. The researchers put it perfectly in this quote. CRISP does not merely lift average accuracy, it removes the long tail of catastrophic, clinically unusable segmentations, which is precisely where deployment risk resides. When they tested on non-contrast CTs, 36.4% of the baseline volumes were near total failures, like a DICE score of under 0.30. CRISP eliminated those near total failures entirely, from 36.4% down to exactly 0%. By injecting those structural priors and squeezing out the ambiguity, it ensures the model degrades gracefully rather than just failing abruptly. And honestly, this is exactly what makes AI safe enough for real-world doctors to actually trust it. So, we are left with a truly fascinating takeaway. By abandoning the fragile pursuit of trying to predict every possible environment and instead trusting the simple intuition of rank stability, CRISP has solved a massive bottleneck in clinical AI deployment. But it definitely leaves me wondering, if this elegant race-in-the-mud intuition works this flawlessly for medical image segmentation, what other AI fields could it completely transform next? Could this exact same rank-stable squeezing process be the key to making self-driving cars perfectly adaptable to sudden blizzards, or making natural language processing models instantly robust across entirely new languages? I really hope this explainer has sparked your curiosity as much as it has mine. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and keep questioning the possibilities.